Todd, McShay, Mel Kiper put out a mock draft for your San Francisco 49ers, well, for the entire first 3 rounds of the NFL, but they had 3 picks for the 49ers, and pretty interesting. Got a lot of pushback on that, but I'm going to look into their philosophy, 49ers philosophy, and if the 49ers can do a little bit better drafting. We're going to talk about all that and more right here on the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. Let's go.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Eric Crocker over midfield. He'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Cross Talk TV podcast. Peace. Welcome to another episode of the San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. I am your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And y'all know, man, Locked On 49ers come at you 5 days a week with myself and Brian Peacock. Make sure y'all tune into that Locked On NFL Draft as well with my co-host and I, Ryan Tracy, 5 days a week. NFL Drafts right around the corner. We're getting into it. A few more prospects today. I don't even want to talk about who they picked for the 49ers yet. We'll talk about that. All right, so Mel Kiper, Todd, McShay, they put out a mock draft, and the 49ers had 3 picks in it. So we're going to talk about that today. All right. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat right now. I see the flames going up. Bunch of flames. Here we go. 5 flames if you're feeling great. Anything less, we need to talk about it. All right, make sure everybody's mental is good. I think we're over on Twitter today. So if you're on Twitter, come over to the YouTube channel. Just type in Eric Crocker, should pop up. We live right now, baby. We live. Hit the like button, subscribe button, all that good stuff. I was on time today. And I'm typically like a minute late, 2 minutes late, something like that. And you guys are always great and patient and everything. But I've been making it more of a priority to be punctual with things. Nobody likes people being late and stuff like that. Not even just punctual, but just my self-discipline. I've been really, really working on that. And one thing that's really been helping me, I've been doing 75 hard. I started one time, then got to about day 8, start over. Started again, got to about day 7, start over. So now I'm on day 9. Now I'm like, all right, I'm focused, I'm dialed in. But it holds you accountable. So I've been learning a lot about myself with this and kind of different things I can handle and all that. And then I kind of see the bitch assness in myself, areas where I can clearly improve. And I think being on time for the morning show is another one of those. Shout out to my folks over the water. Here we go. Out in New Zealand, 1:32 a.m. Appreciate you for tuning in. Let's go. But let's get into it, man. Y'all want to talk Deebo Samuel? We ain't talking Deebo Samuel today, man. A lot of Deebo Samuel talk. We'll see if anything new jumps up over the weekend, but I'm pretty sure y'all kind of tired of hearing about that right now. We'll see how it all plays out. But Todd McShay and Mel Kiper, and they put out a mock draft a few days ago, 3-round mock draft. They picked for every team, and they also picked for the San Francisco 49ers. Now, as we know, the 49ers, they do not pick until pick 61. I wanted to kind of go over a little bit of their draft philosophy and how we see it as fans, because obviously, I'm in tune with fans. I talk to y'all damn near every day. I know what y'all want. I know what y'all looking for. But there was something that was interesting I heard yesterday, all right? And obviously this hasn't necessarily resulted in wins, but I think it has resulted in a terrific roster. Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, the way that they pick is best available. All right, best player available. And I think they go best player available. And real quick, got my guy, Niner. Hey, Croc, what's up with Not Ideal Podcast? So the Not Ideal Podcast, it is on all the streaming sites or whatever, Spotify, Apple. It's up on there, episode 2. But it's not on YouTube yet because I just got a new laptop and I'm trying to get the software that I typically use, that I used on the Dell. I'm trying to get that converted over to the Apple one. And their call center is I don't know, it's somewhere else. I don't even know where the hell it is. So I don't know. I'm waiting on the call back so they can get me all set up. So that's why you don't see it on YouTube. But it is on Apple and Spotify if you want to listen to the Not Ideal podcast. Episode 2 with my guy Malik Matthews. It's a really, really, really good one. I think it's really good, at least. I'm supposed to, I guess. But draft philosophies. All right, Dallas Cowboys, they take best player available. And I remember in, what was it now, 2020 NFL draft, I'm like, man, Dallas Cowboys, their defense is horrible. They got all these holes everywhere. And my brother's like, man, we need to take CeeDee Lamb if he's there. And I'm like, dude, first of all, CeeDee Lamb's not falling to the Dallas Cowboys. Second of all, why the hell would Dallas Cowboys take a receiver when they already have 2 receivers that just went over 1,000 yards in Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper? And they just paid Amari Cooper $100 million. Like, why would they draft a receiver in the first round? Like, no way. And he's like, man, I think we need to do that, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, that's stupid. It sounds stupid to me, especially when you have so many holes on your defense. And what did Dallas Cowboys do? They took CeeDee Lamb in the first round with all those holes on defense. And I was listening to something on ESPN yesterday, and they said the Dallas Cowboys have had, out of their last 8 first-round picks, 7 of them have went to the Pro Bowl. All right, now I don't mean this, as much because, Pro Bowl, they have a large fan base. Maybe that's how guys are getting in. But when you look at their first-round picks over the years and the guys that they've had, they are good. We're talking about Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick. Some of the guys that have been some of the best at their position. All right, so it's not just a Mitchell Trubisky type first-round pick where, first round he made to the Pro Bowl somehow, right? Like, nah, these dudes are like legit football players. I think the only guy that didn't make it over their last 8 first-round picks was Taco Charlton out of Michigan. I think he's the only guy. And they chose him over TJ Watt. And I'm pretty sure they regret that. But they've done very well in the first round. Why? Because they're not just going for need. Now, what does it mean to draft for need? I would say the philosophy should weigh heavily on, like, obviously, like you're going to have holes, right? Every team has areas where they need to improve. But do you prioritize that over someone you just have much higher, right? So let's say, hypothetically speaking, the 49ers. Let's say they have a first-round pick right now. They get 49ers in the first. They got a first-round pick. And, oh, man, like, 49ers, they need a safety. So they first round, let's say they had their original pick 29 overall. Oh, 49ers have the 29th overall pick. They need to draft a safety. You got, all the safeties I really like, right? Like Lewis Cine there, and I love Lewis Cine. Some of the other guys, whatever. But, and again, this is a hypothetical situation. Well, there's also a guy you weren't expecting to be there. Hutchinson. All right, well, let's just say that, right? Because I think, do the 49ers need Hutchinson over Lewis Cine? Probably not. But Hutchinson's there. And it's like, man, we need a starter at safety. Man, we got a lot of depth at edge. You got Nick Bosa, a lot of players that can contribute as pass rushers. You don't really need an edge rusher. But you definitely need a starting safety opposite Jimmy Ward. What do? Well, you take the guy who's higher on your board. And especially if there's a significant gap. And you take Aiden Hutchinson if he's higher on your board than Lewis Cine. That might be a bad example, but you get what I'm trying to say here. You do want to fill a need, but I don't think you want to prioritize the need over a player that is just better. All right. And a lot of times when you do that and you start forcing things, you end up with a player that maybe still would have went high, but maybe you could have gotten a better player. All right. So I've seen the 49ers do this several times, and I'm not saying it's a bad philosophy. I think the 49ers do well drafting. Could they possibly do a little bit better? And I think most teams would be like, yeah, we could do better. But can they do as well as the Dallas Cowboys have done? And I know a lot of people would say, well, Dallas Cowboys, oh, here we go. Perfect. What does that say about the Dallas Cowboys organization? They only have 3 playoff wins since 1995 and 0 NFC championship appearances. Maybe they just don't have good coaching. That could be it, right? Because let's say this. If you take and I said this on Locked On 49ers, make sure y'all listen to that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. If you take the Dallas Cowboys roster as is right now, Dallas Cowboys roster, or we'll say last year's roster because we know more of what it was. If you take that Dallas Cowboys roster and you have your 49ers roster and you flip teams, and you give Kyle Shanahan, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, Mari Cooper, Gallup, Tyron Smith, all these guys on defense, Parsons, Trevon Diggs. So like, if you switch rosters, do you still think that the Cowboys, that your 49ers lose to that Cowboys? Or I'm saying that backwards. Do you still think that, yeah, does that 49er team beat the Cowboys? I would say yeah. Right? If you just swap out position for position, everybody just switch teams, but you give the 49ers that Cowboys roster, but you got your head coach, who wins? I think you'd say 49ers. Why? Because probably D'Amico Ryans might be just a better defensive coordinator, maybe, than what's on the other side. Maybe Kyle Shanahan is just a better offensive coordinator, right? So I think it has more to do with that than just they're just not a good football team and can't win games. That's just my opinion. Last second, right? Dak will cook. I mean, I would assume, right? I would assume that. So I just think 49ers have better coaching. But anyways, when you look at the roster, though, the Cowboys, they have a terrific roster. And they typically do. And why is that? It sounds like they just take best player available. Now, I say all that to say, Cowboys, I talked about how in that CeeDee Lamb draft, they needed defense, right? Like, man, they got so many holes on their defense. Well, they maybe didn't prioritize defense with their first pick, but and drafted a receiver, which they maybe didn't need. Get 2,000-yard receivers already on that roster. Maybe they need a receiver, but hey, he's the best player on our board. We are taking him. All right. That doesn't mean you can't address needs in the rest of the draft. And what the Cowboys do for the rest of that draft, they drafted defense. Literally every other pick was a defensive player. So I think that's one thing when you kind of look at this, because a lot of times, especially when you hear who they had the 49ers taking, a lot of the responses I was getting was, oh man, well, no, they need to take a center at this pick, or they need to take a this at this pick, or they need to take that at, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, well, you got a whole draft to select guys. And I think if anybody has proven that they can do well picking in mid rounds and getting guys that can contribute, it's the 49ers. So that's why when I look at in mock draft like this, and maybe they took players I don't necessarily agree with, or I wouldn't have taken, or whatever, if that's the best player on the 49ers board, take that player. All right. So hope that makes sense. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat right now. Again, if you're on Twitter, come over to the YouTube channel, type in Eric Crocker, hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when we're going live, which we typically go live 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. All right, here we go. Just like Bengals needing O-line to O-line, they took Chase and went to a Super Bowl. On the flip side of the line, is ultimately lost them the game. All right, here's one. Did their offensive line lose them the game, or is Aaron Donald just hella good, right? Aaron Donald, Von Miller, did they just like really get after it? Is there an offensive line that's just, you know what, we're just going to shut Aaron Donald down and Von Miller, and they're just not going to make plays? So, yeah, like ultimately, like Aaron Donald wrecked the game the last few plays, right? Really second half. But it's like, it's fucking Aaron Donald, right? Like, it's Aaron Donald. So I don't know if their O-line lost them, or is it just, well, Aaron Donald's just hella good. Croc, if it wasn't for Jimmy throwing the stupid INT versus Dallas in the playoffs, we would have blew them out. Right. But would we have blown them out because they just don't have good players? When I say we, I'm talking about 49ers. Or is it 49ers just better coach? Like 49ers came out, punched them in the mouth, good coaching, all that, right? I think the 49ers outcoached them. Even with Jimmy. I mean, I don't want to talk bad about Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, we know Jimmy's going to keep games close. He ain't blowing nobody out. Now, if you got the run game that just run for 300 yards, then yeah. But Jimmy, as long as he's throwing the rock, you ain't blowing nobody out. Nobody. All right, here we go. So, to the mock draft. Mel Kiper, Todd McShay. They took turns picking. I don't know who picked for the 49ers. But at pick 61, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay. They take safety out of Maryland, Nick Cross. All right. Now, Nick Cross, I think he's somebody that 49 fans be like, yeah, okay, you got to get Nick Cross. And I mean, he has big time ability. A guy who just tested like through the roof, right? Like measurables crazy, has good size, has ability, like all that. And I think if you watch highlights, which y'all know I don't watch highlights, not at least before the draft, maybe after the draft, I'll still do my like film evaluation on whoever the 49ers take. And then eventually I might watch a highlight. But like I can kid you not, I've never watched a highlight of Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel. You know, I've like legitimately never watched a highlight of him. But Nick Cross, I think he has big time ability, but there have been times when you are evaluating the prospect, you have to like look at what's fixable, right? What's really hard to fix. And sometimes you can see that, right? Like if there's a movement skill issue, like that's tough to improve on. And the guy just might move that way. Right? If there is a lack of size, speed, can't fix that, right? But Nick Cross has the size. He got the speed. He has the ability. Now, where sometimes did he hurt himself? I would say probably, eye discipline, right? So there might be some plays. I've seen them out there, right? I think my guy, not Akash, I can't remember who posted it. But anyways, I know people posted some clips, right? And you'll see some like bad clips on him. And my question to you is, all right, Nick, and I'm not like a big Nick Cross person. I'm just talking about like kind of the evaluation of him. But all right, Nick Cross, can I teach you to not have bad eyes on this play? Is that something that was consistent? Okay, I get that it hurt you on this play, but do you always have bad eyes in quarters? Or is it consistent? When I mean consistent, right? Like there's 70 plays in a football game? Out of the 70 plays, and let's say there's 30 pass plays or 40 pass plays, all right? 49ers is going to be 30 pass plays, 40 runs. All right, but most teams, 40 passes, 30 runs, 25 runs, whatever the case is. If out of those 40 pass plays, do you typically have bad eyes, Nick Cross? And that's what I would be looking at. Is this consistently an issue? Now I see my guy Jesse, and he says, you are 100% right. I watched him versus Ohio State. He bites. Right. So there were a couple times he bit. Can I teach him not to bite on those things? Like, can I teach him, hey, this is where your eyes should be, blah, blah, blah. And can we fix it? And if we can fix that, then it's not that big of an issue. What I can't fix is if you're just not fast enough, if you just are super stiff, if you just, like, I can't fix those things. So we're talking about pick 61. Nick Cross has a lot of high upside and ability, and there's a few little hiccups here and there that I can fix. Then, all right. But like say, like Talanoa Hufanga has good, good instincts and things like that. I remember watching this film. It's like, man, kind of a step behind. Oh, man, a step late here. Oh, man, good play here, but step. And it's like, can I fix that step? And I might not be able to. Because that might just be who he is. Right? So I think that's one thing typically, like, not with Nick Cross, but I think in general when I'm watching the film, like, that's one thing I try to make note of. Like, are these things coachable, fixable? I think a guy biting on a play, I can fix that. What I can't fix is if you just don't have the ability. So I think from that standpoint, I'm intrigued by Nick Cross. Now they did have Brisker on the board. I'm a little bit higher on Brisker, but they took Nick Cross. I would not be mad at that. Here we go. Are we out on our own safety in Tarvarius Moore? That's a great question. Great question. I would say no, but I mean, do you go into, okay, so let's say right now, right, 49ers have Jimmy Ward. Right now the safety is Jimmy Ward, Tarvarius Moore, Talanoa Hufanga, and who else? Y'all have to tell me. I don't even know who else they have. All right. But those are kind of like the three guys. Out of those three guys, or even let's say the other two, because we're good with Ward. But with Hufanga and Moore, do you feel confident just saying, hey, like, we got a for sure starter in one of these guys? I don't. I think they both profile very well as like the third guy. Like if you want to go like 3 safety sets, you want to bring one of them in, cool. But if we are talking about like I just want this, like nah. I would not feel comfortable going into it where it's just like those are the starting guys or those two guys are competing for the starting job. If I don't get Nick Cross or Brisker or Petrie or anyone else in that second round or whatever, or if I go a different position, I would be leaning towards like, can I bring Jaquiski Tart back? Can I bring Tart back? I'd rather have Tart come back than go into the season with Moore and Hufanga as the starting safeties. Now, that doesn't mean that eventually Hufanga and Moore can't be the starting safety. Maybe there's an injury. They fill in, and then they exceed expectations, and that's awesome. But I don't want to bet on that. I don't want to bet on that. And I am someone who believes in player development, but I think when it comes to Hufanga, it might be a lack of athleticism. And when it comes, and again, he could prove me wrong. But when it comes to Tarvarius Moore, the athleticism there, but he has never been like that full-time guy, right? Like first year, they tried to play him at cornerback. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Second year, he's kind of getting mixed in there. I think that's when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl around that time, right? Third year, was that the year he got hurt? I don't know. But anyways, there's never been a time where he's been like, oh, man, like we got a starting safety in Tarvarius Moore. I think it's been like, I mean, he's cool. He's cool. Okay, fill in. Cool. And now, again, if he can show at some point, like, no, somebody goes down, he fills in, and he shows that he can be like the long-term guy, then great. But I don't know how much I would like bet on that going into the season. All right, so that's it on the safety. Here's a good one. Petrie played 14 snaps at single high and double high all season. He is more of a nickel corner than a safety, at least on film. All right. Petrie, and here we go. This is a good one. All right, so we need a Javon Holland type Petrie. All right, so we got Petrie. We're talking about Petrie a little bit. And again, I will get to the pick 93, who they picked, and get my evaluation of that player. But Jaden Petrie, the more I kind of think about him, the more I like him. All right. First of all, I should like him off rip because my guy that, I got my guy, he be getting me plugged in with Baylor and South Carolina boys. And I think all those guys that he coached, or was around during that time, they might be gone now. But he was around. First, he tipped me off Deebo Samuel. Croc. All right, this is one of my former teammates. I was on the Jets with him. Croc. Gotta look at this Deebo Samuel. He woo. And he gives me like these scouting reports on these guys. This is pretty in depth. Like he tells me everything about this guy. All right. And tell me about Deebo Samuel. The good, some of the things that he can improve on, whatever. But he's like, baller, woo. And man, he was right. Then he tells me about Brian Edwards. And I will say, I like Brian Edwards a lot. I'm surprised if Raiders don't use him more. All right. He also told me, he had hit me. He's like, man, everybody, they talk about this corner. That's the big guy, but J.C. Horn, like that's the guy. J.C. Horn, Croc, I'm telling you right now. J.C. Horn, he's the guy, right? And he's telling me, and I'm like, all right. So I always go with what he says. J.C. Horn was the guy. That was my CB1 in that class. And then he tells me, Croc, Jaden Petrie, like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, and floods my DMs with Jaden Petrie, Croc, I'm telling you, he's the guy, like, and he loves everything about football guy. He's not so much like a guy that plays a whole lot in space. Really what he reminds me of a ton is Jamal Adams, right? Now, can you have Jamal Adams with a little bit better underneath? Now, when I say Jamal Adams, first of all, I think Jamal Adams, he has kind of this negative context to his name, right? Like, it's like Jamal Adams, like, no, it's like, he's a linebacker. I'll say that Jamal Adams is a damn good football player. And he has great instincts, athleticism. He's just not that good in coverage down the field. A little bit more of a liability, right? Like, not to say he can't cover at all, but it's clearly not a strength of his. All right. Well, Petrie, I think he covers very well. But one thing Petrie does do very well is, one, he can play kind of that star position. And, we talk about Petrie, Javon Holland, I'm going to make a comparison there because my guy Jesse was talking about how he doesn't have a whole lot of single high snaps. All right. But he plays a lot on the slot. He comes off the edge. They blitz him off the edge. He's very physical and aggressive against the run. He's terrific with his pursuit from the backside. His coverage skills out what they asked him to do. I thought he excelled at that and did very well. All right. The hips, change of direction, the feet. That was all solid for a guy that plays primarily in that area. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. They asked him to do a whole lot more coverage stuff and had him more like purely in the nickel. And I thought overall, like, he did well. I think a lot of other people thought he shined as well. So Jaden Petrie, a lot of upside. Now, in the sense of projecting what it would look like if he had to play single high or two high. I don't know, but I will say this. I remember Javon Holland, and I'm glad that our guy in the chat brought Javon Holland up. Javon Holland was pretty much a nickel at Oregon. He kind of played in that role. Again, star position type guy. And at the NFL level, they're doing more with him. I don't know if I saw him line up two high, single high in college. Maybe a few times, maybe, but definitely wasn't where they typically lined him up. And when you watch Petrie, it's kind of the same. So can he make a transition like Javon Holland? And I'm talking about Petrie. Can Petrie make that transition? If so, then I like it. I like it. So that's me kind of coming along again, kind of talking myself into it. Jesse, how many snaps did you see Javon Holland in two high, single high that last year? Not a whole lot, right? Kind of hung out around that kind of that star position, that nickel type role. But clearly, listed as a safety. Patrick Surtain too, J.C. Horn. I have Surtain as my third safety, but I really liked him though. I really liked him. There were some things that I kind of learned about J.C. Horn while I had him over the top. I just think, man, he had that alpha mentality the way he did. I love when Patrick Surtain had his pro day, and he did well. And then J.C. Horn had his pro day. And they asked J.C. Horn, like, hey, did it motivate you, seeing Patrick Surtain and the pro day workout that he had? And I think J.C. Horn gave one of the best answers I've ever heard. And he was like, I'm the standard. Like, I don't care about what these other dudes doing. I'm the standard. Like, they should be looking at what I'm doing. And I was like, ooh, that's my guy. That's my guy. So shout out to J.C. Horn, man. Love J.C. Horn. Love his game. All right. But anyways, at pick 61, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay had the 49ers taking safety out of Maryland, Nick Cross. All right. Now, let's talk about who they have taken, who they had the 49ers taking at pick 93. And I think this one, I'm going to try to make sense of it. I don't know if this is necessarily a need, but if you're talking about pick 93, we're talking about late in the third round. Maybe you just go with it. All right. And at pick 93, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay have the San Francisco 49ers taking cornerback out of Sam Houston, Zion McCollum. All right. Now, this one here, you're going to hear a lot of what you can coach up and what you can't. All right. Let's start with some of the things that you can't coach up with Zion McCollum. All right. Zion, 6'4". He listed at 6'4", 200. I think he measured in like a little bit over 6'3", 200 pounds. And if anyone knows me, I'm not one to really like the big long corners. I think that just movement skills, change of direction, it's a little tougher, right? The taller and longer you get, the harder it is for your movement skills to be like as ideal as Eric Crocker would like. All right. But he goes to the combine. And a matter of fact, it was somebody in this chat, right? Somebody in this chat was like, oh, Zion McCollum, 6'4", 200. I'm like, man, not 6'4", 200. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. He looked like 6 feet tall. No, he's legit over 6'2". And he is 200 pounds. I was like, damn, he's big. But so I look up his stuff at the combine, and this dude, he ran in the 4.3s. So it's very rare you find guys that's that big and can run that fast. And that's cool. I don't know if he necessarily played at 4.3, but he's fast as hell, right? Now, that's not what like shook me up a little bit with him. I'm looking at his testing numbers, and hold on, let me pull them up right now. Because it was like crazy, and I thought I was reading wrong. It was so crazy. Now, I'll try to make sense of some of the testing numbers that we see from him. I'm not going to say that just because he tested very well, like, that's exactly what I'm seeing on film. But hold on. But we're gonna try to make sense of a lot of this. Why it ain't going? Let's see if I can get up in here. Hold on. Zion. I don't know why nothing's loading right now. But anyways, Zion McCollum, his obviously we know the height, we know the speed. A guy is 6'2", over 6'2", 200 pounds. Cool, whatever. Ran in a 4.3. That's awesome. All right. But the more awesome part about Zion McCollum and his profile, his short shuttle. And again, I'm looking at the numbers because now I'm confused. Not short cone, excuse me, 3-cone. I'll get to a short shuttle. His 3-cone, I'm looking at the numbers, and it was like 6.48. And I'm like, 6.48. I'm thinking I'm looking at some different numbers because I've never in my life seen a 3-cone that fast. I'm like 6.48. And I'm thinking like, I'm looking at something else that's like slow. Like clearly this is wrong. I'm like, wait a minute. His 3-cone was 6.48. I'm like, what? Like that's the fastest. And he did that at the combine. He did that at the combine, not pro day time. That's combine. I'm like, that's the fastest I've ever seen in my life. The quickest I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a 3-cone that quick. 6.48. Fastest I've ever seen. And then you look at his L drill or whatever, and it was like sub 4. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with this dude's testing? He legit had some of the best testing I've ever seen. So I put out there on Twitter and I'm like, this has to be the best testing numbers ever. I was like, what is his RAS score, which is the relative athletic score? You can search on Twitter and find that. I'm like, what is it? And there, I said, it has to be the best ever. And it was. It was. This guy's relative athletic testing score was the best ever, a perfect 10. And there has never been anyone better. All right. Again, over 6'2", 200 pounds, ran in the 4.3s, shuttle, crazy, 3-cone, crazy, fastest I've ever seen. And it's not just the fastest I've ever seen. It is literally the fastest for any corner at the combine ever. He legit has the fastest 3-cone time ever for a corner. So I put on the film, and the film does not match the testing. All right. You want the film to match the testing, obviously, right? It didn't match the testing. And when I say that from like an agility standpoint, because the test is so great with the agility. But what it did tell me is, dude, you have all this ability, crazy ability. Trust it more. One thing that was very consistent throughout Zion McCollum's film is he loves to open the gate. He gets out there too soon. Dude, use your length. You have the speed to be able to run with anyone. You don't have to get out of there. You don't have to open up right now at the line of scrimmage. Stay square. And when he stays square, it looks great. But a lot of times he'd open up and, just habits that I see. But again, what can you teach? What can't you teach? I can't teach 6'2 plus, 200 pounds, 4'3", fastest 3-cone ever, shuttle crazy. I can't teach that. You got that or you don't. But I can teach you technique, and I can teach you to trust those things more. So I don't necessarily think that cornerback is a position of need for the San Francisco 49ers. You look at what they've done they got Travis Ward. They obviously have Emmanuel Mosley, who's entering the last year of his contract. They have guys like Ambry Thomas that they just drafted. If you look at nickel, I'm assuming that's where they kind of want to play Diamador Lenore. We'll see. But he has nickel / outside capabilities. I don't think corner is necessarily neat, but if you have a guy like this and you're talking about drafting him at pick 93 and you think that, he has, can he develop into a great corner with terrific size? That's when it's intriguing. But again, got to get him to trust his technique a little bit more. All right. So that's kind of my thought process on Zion McCollum. 49ers pick him number 93 overall out of Sam Houston. Again, this is Mel Kiper and Top McShay's mock draft. Pick 61, safety out of Maryland, Nick Cross. Pick 93, Zion McCollum, cornerback out of Sam Houston. All right. And I see a lot of people throwing out Marcus Jones now. Marcus Jones. Here's the thing. I think what he does on film is terrific. It's terrific. For a guy that is small, right? Like he's small, short arms. He's short, 5'8", whatever. But he's scrappy. He's twitched up. He's fearless. The coverage skills are all there. That's great. I think he's going to be around a little bit later than people expect. If he's there around 4, wouldn't be surprised at all. The reason why I say that is for a guy, and I see people mentioning his age, going to be a little bit older. All right, on top of that, we're talking about somebody who did not test this entire offseason. Why? Because he had double shoulder surgery. So you talking about his age, talking about his double shoulder surgery. You talk about the lack of length. You talk about being 5'8", no testing. I think all those things say day 3 pick. Film and ability, I'd say day 1 or day 2. Excuse me. But when you factor in everything else, day 3. All right. Y'all like Cordell Flott, cornerback out of LSU. Heck yeah, man. Cordell Flott, he was a guy, I remember watching him early on. And when I was watching like Derek Stingley and those guys at LSU, I was like, damn, man, this Cordell Flott's nice. Between Flott and you got Flott and Derek Stingley Jr., I'm like, man, that's going to be the best tandem in college football coming up. And obviously it never got to that point. But legit, right? Like legit. He can play. We talked about him on Locked On 49ers just last night. So tune in Locked On 49ers. We talked about Cordell Flott. All right. But here we go. Back to the mock draft. And then after this, I'll bring y'all on. And whatever prospects y'all want to talk about, we can get into that. But at pick 105, right? And this was the third and final pick for the 49ers in this 3-round mock draft for Mel Kiper and Todd McShay. But pick 105, San Francisco 49ers take wide receiver out of Purdue, David Bell. Now, I think this was before all the Debo news and stuff like that. So maybe they just, 49ers have a need. And again, I look at the 49ers wide receiver situation right now as I'm not as high on Juwan Jennings. I think he's solid. I think Juwan Jennings is solid. I think Juwan Jennings is a legit wide receiver 4, right? And maybe along the lines of what we saw from like Kendrick Bourne, right? Where it's like wide receiver 4, like, he could be a 3. I think Kendrick Bourne was a legit wide receiver 3, your 4th option, legit. If he has to fill in as a wide receiver 2, I think Kendrick Bourne was able to play that role extremely well. Not so sure about Juwan Jennings, but I don't know. Like the 49ers seem much higher on him. Guys like Fred Warner and Richard Sherman, when you hear them talk about him, they were very high on him. So people are really high on Juwan Jennings, higher than I am. Higher than I am. I like him. Think he's solid. But I don't know if I'm necessarily as high as some other people. All right. But David Bell. So they have 49ers taking David Bell with the 105th pick out of Purdue. And this is a guy who I think heading into the season, some people have him as like a top 5 receiver. And like if you would probably look at some pre-season top 5 receivers heading with all that stuff, David Bell might be top 5, top 8 for sure. And right now, I don't think anybody would mention him probably in the top 15. Receiver with solid size coming out of Purdue, was very productive as a freshman. Watching him, one, he didn't test very well at the combine, right? And I don't know if somebody could pull up his please stop 49ers stop drafting the offensive lineman. I know the name. David Bell, solid receiver, but didn't test very well. And then you go back and you watch it. I was just watching him last night. I watched him some more this morning, and it was just like, he's cool. You know what it reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of, and this is kind of a throwback name here, DeAndre Smelter. Y'all remember when the 49ers drafted DeAndre Smelter, 4th round? That was kind of what I see with David Bell. Like that, like kind of like that. Where I don't know if watching him, I saw anything that really jumped out to where it was like, whoo, this boy nice, right? Like he cold. That didn't jump out to me. I mean, he was somebody who not sorry or anything like that, but it's like, does he threaten guys with speed? Not so much. Is he twitched up? Not so much. Does he, big body guys, like, are these things I see consistently? They threw screens to him. How was he after the catch? Cool receiver. But I don't know what he's going to hang his hat on at the next level. And that's one thing that I try to identify. You don't have to be, Stephon Diggs or whatever other receiver you really like that you think is just like crazy route runner, Justin Jefferson. You don't got to be that type of route runner or anything like that. But like, how do you win? And can you hang your hat on being able to win that way? And I think if you can't, you're just going to go later than, you would probably like. Doesn't mean that you're not a good football player. Just probably go a little bit later. So that was something that kind of jumped out to me about him. Now, overall, let's erase the names of these guys, but just go with the positions. All right. And let's say with the first 3 picks, 49ers take safety, corner, receiver. I think, and I know the 49er fan base would push back a lot on this because, they didn't do this. They didn't do that. Well, you got picks. You could do those. They didn't draft a center. Okay. Maybe the center that you ideally would want wasn't there. Maybe a 49er fan base is higher on certain guys than others. I do a podcast weekly with Tony Pauline, right, and John Schmelk, and we put out a podcast every week. It's on like the New York Giant feeds and all that type of stuff. Pretty cool. And it's like an official thing on their official YouTube and all that. All right, but Tony Pauline, John Schmelk, we put out Tony Pauline. He's not very high on the center out of Arizona State. I got my notes on him too. Hold on. Let's see if I can find him. The center out of, where's that? Donovan West out of Arizona State. He's not high on him. Thinks he should be like a 6th-round pick. But most 49er fans will probably tell you, oh, man, he should go before you pick any of these other 3 guys. Right? Because sometimes we hear these names and stuff like that. Now, I watched him, and it was like, Donovan West, he's cool. So in my notes, good anchor. I questioned, does he have the power to move guys? I didn't see him move guys. As I continued to watch film, I went back to that, and I said, doesn't move guys, but doesn't get moved. So I thought his anchor was pretty good from that standpoint. Good job at reaching the second level. I thought he was solid there. Stays on blocks sort of well. I mean, a little inconsistent, but like there wasn't anything where it was just like, super jumps out to where if you were to draft a Nick Cross over West, I would like it. I would like Cross over West. Like, we need center. Oh, okay. Well, get a better one. Tony Pauline, I'm sure what Tony Pauline said. He said he doesn't think he's a day 1 or 2 guy. All right, so yeah, I don't know, but I know a lot of 49 fans, like if they were to throw West's name in there, then you would like it. Maybe the 49ers could take West later. All right, another guy I really like, this is a guy I like, Abraham Lucas, tackle out of Washington. I think he might go 2nd round. But if he's there for pick 61 for the 49ers, I don't think he can play guard, but he's somebody that's legit. I liked him a lot at right tackle out of Washington State. I say all that to say, like, I don't know, sometimes we get like enamored with names and positions, but who's the best guy on your board? And if that's what they did here, I like it. But I'm going to bring y'all on and get y'all opinion on all of this. And again, one thing to, I would have to go through and see who was on the board at certain picks, because it's like, at pick 61, oh man, they took Nick Cross. Why didn't they take Jaden Petrie? I would have to go back and see if Petrie was even available. But there's a link for y'all to come on live right now. Again, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, come over to the YouTube channel. Tune in. All that good stuff. I said, damn, Croc puts out podcasts like Lil Wayne used to put out mixtapes. Gotta get it, man. I gotta get it. Hey, my mindset is all about what's gonna bring that money. Look, I don't have a set income. And I talk about this on my my podcast, Not Ideal, that I put out once a week. All right. But I talk about this. when it comes to like entrepreneurship and stuff like that, you don't. I don't want to say you don't know where your next dollar is coming from, but you got to hustle to get that next dollar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like your income can fluctuate, so you got to be on your grind, and whatever comes, like take advantage of it. Gots to. Ooh, I'm glad you missing Justin Ross. All right, because I got my notes on Justin Ross. Here's my notes on Justin Ross. Hold on. Some quick notes here. Justin Ross, wide receiver out of Clemson. Lack of vertical separation. QB situations suck, but don't think he made himself an easy target. Played at one speed. Short area separation, not there. Route manipulation, not there. Some of the same issues I saw with T. Higgins, but not to the same extent. Not as good as T. Higgins. Can't be a playmaker at the catch point, but wasn't really showing anything on film. Like, I was a little surprised with what I saw on film from him, because if you go back to his freshman year, I think it's like, man, this is him as a freshman, like what he's going to be moving forward. And I don't know if it was the spinal fusion injury that Justin Ross had, but wasn't very regular. Between him and David Bell, they didn't really move me. Is Ross the same as Mike Williams? No. He's the same. No. I mean, there is no same. No. Mike Williams is dominant. Dominant. That's why Mike Williams ended up going top 10. Ross, like, you know, he has shown some moments, some flashes, but I watched him last year and it was like putting on his film. But yeah, that's the 3-round mock draft from Todd, McShay, Mel Kiper. Again, at pick 61, they took Nick Cross, safety out of Maryland. Pick 93, Zion McCollum, cornerback out of Houston. At pick 105, David Bell, wide receiver out of Purdue. Here we go. I'm an entrepreneur. I get it. Yeah, man, you get it. You gotta put yourself in position, get that money, and hell, I'll do 20 podcasts a day if I have to. Oh, I'd rather get Tyquan Thornton later. Well, what about this? Why not get Tyquan Thornton there? Why not get Tyquan Thornton at pick 105? He's somebody I really like. And I talked about him on, obviously, like we talked about some of these guys on Locked On 49ers as well. But Tyquan Thornton, man, somebody like, you know, he had the fastest 40 time at the NFL draft, or combine, excuse me. But he actually plays to that speed. Like, he's fast. He played to that speed. I thought he showed a little bit more twitch than I was expecting. Short area quickness was a bit better than I was expecting. Obviously, he can improve at the top of routes, but a lot of times you see that with some guys that are just so fast. But he wasn't this just stiff guy. At the catch point, I thought he was terrific with the hands. I thought he did a really good job of catching the ball away from his body. Why not take Tyquan Thornton at 105? Because, again, you never know who might be thinking the same thing as you. Here we go. Coming on now, I got my guy Gammon. Gammon, good morning, bro.
Hey, good morning, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Real quick, I want to address this real quick. Somebody said Thornton equals John Ross. This is what I'll say about that. Sometimes you don't know why somebody might not work out at the NFL level. And again, I mean, you could take Thornton and maybe he never amounts to much. Maybe he's just good on special teams returner. Maybe he's kind of a Ted Ginn, one-trick pony type guy or whatever. But I will say this. John Ross in college, he was real. Like, he was twitched up. He was sudden. Like, the routes were there. The run after catch was there. Obviously, the vertical threat ability was there. Like, it was all there. Now, why Ross didn't take his game to the next level at the NFL, I don't know, right? Some people, you know, maybe they don't continue to work on their craft and improve from there. Could be maybe some of the coaching there, maybe a quarterback situation. I don't know, right? Who's he playing with? Andy Dalton? I don't know. But I will say this. The ability was there. Like, when his film was terrific, I would say John Ross is a much better prospect than Thornton. But now, if you also draft John Ross to be, you know, your number one receiver. Thornton, man, can you just be my third receiver that brings something different than my Brandon Ayuk and my Deebo Samuel? more of a vertical threat with pure speed. I mean, he legit outruns guys. Like he plays fast. You know, like yeah. But anyways, yeah, I wouldn't put them in the same. Like John Ross was a terrific prospect, and it wasn't just. But sometimes when you just run fast, like I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear a lot of Thornton and Denzel Mims, well, because they're tall, skinny, both played at Baylor, and they're not the same to me. Like Thornton has much more bend and fluidity. Mims, who I was not high on, he was my wide receiver 14 in that class, tall, but I thought he was very stiff, like as stiff as any receiver I've ever seen, and he lacked that short area, quick burst, where like a DK Metcalf, who's also can be stiff, but DK was very quick and powerful off the line. All right, didn't quite see that from Mims. Didn't quite see the change of direction, even though he tested very well in 3-cone. Maybe he just had the steps down very well because I didn't see. I mean, he was stiff as a cardboard. All right, so you know, guys just be different. But sometimes when you run fast, it's like, oh, he ran fast, so he's like this guy, and it's like yeah, they're different. But as far as why John Ross didn't work out, like I don't know. I don't know. But what's up, Gammon? Good morning.
Not too much, man. Good morning. Yeah, I just want to talk about two things that are bad. Like number one, our off season has just really been just terrible because you're really what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to free agency. You're supposed to fill your needs through free agency. So that way, heading into the draft, you can draft BPA, which is not really looking like that's possible this year. And then the other thing that's bad is I don't know who this last second sports guy is in your chat, but I hate to call people out, but his recommendations for draft in the chat have just been terrible, absolutely terrible. Last second.
Hold on. You know I like to get into the debates, so here we go. Last second sports, you're on live. Gammon said hold on. I gotta put me in the middle, so I'm like in the middle of this debate here. Got my guy Jesse on. Gammon, talk to Jesse about what have you not liked about some of the things he suggested.
Just some of his picks and kind of where he kind of has them a little bit. I think he deep down he's a big I forget what that guy's name was, but the one who's like turning like 24 with the double shoulder injury and everything like that. I think he's really high on him, and I just want to know why he's so high on him.
And you're saying why is he so high on him with all things considered? The double shoulder injuries, the age, the no testing, 5'8",
and that he's not long. Pause. That's a problem too.
Yeah. So all right, Jesse, the floor is yours.
All right, sorry, it might be sketchy. I'm driving right now, but yeah, I like Marcus Jones. Everything I've seen from him on film. I mean, testing is one thing, but for me, like I just go off of what my eyes tell me, and what my eyes tell me is yes, he's undersized, but this kid competes. Like unless the ball was thrown perfectly, and I mean perfectly, and he's on the outside against a big body receiver. Like he does not lose those matchups, and I love the effort that he shows on film. Like there was a play, I forget who it was against, but there was a play where he was on the opposite side of the field. A corner got beat on the far side away from him. He ran the dude down before he got in the end zone at like the 2-yard line. The very next play, they forced a fumble and got a turnover and stopped the other team from scoring. So. Like to me, I look at the player, what he brings to the table. I like him a lot. But you said everything I've been saying in the chat's horrible, so I question that. You brought up one thing. What else don't you like?
I was just really just giving you a hard time, but I didn't know. I think you're amazing, man, and I've said that before.
No, I know. I love you.
Wow, you just had a Deion Sanders backpedal there, like.
No. Listen, Gammon knows me. He's just trolling me. He knows. No, listen. You're right. I mean, I get it. There's a lot about Marcus Jones that is worrisome, right? And so, especially at pick, I would never do it at 61. 93, I'm certainly okay with that. The thing is that once you get, we always fall in love with names. This happens every year. There's names that we fall in love with. We're like, we got to get this guy. We got to get this guy. And where we're talking about getting him is like third round and later. And then a lot of these guys don't pan out. Like it's a crapshoot once you get there. You know what I mean? And so I know the mock draft on ESPN had McCollum going, and everybody looks at the measurables like, oh my God, I fall in love with the measurables. And I actually reached out to you, Croc, about him on your very first mock draft, and you said he got bodied up by Watkins at the Senior Bowl. So, the thing is about it is that there is no must-have player at 93 and later. Like, that's just, it doesn't exist. I'm sorry. If it did, these guys would be going in the first round. So,
Jesse,
yeah.
I don't know if this is like who's somebody in the industry, like in the music industry, where everybody just want to take shots at that person. Like who is that? Maybe 6ix9ine. Right now, you're like the 6ix9ine of podcasting because we got Swan Song coming on, and Swan Song said he ain't gonna backpedal and he wants to have a word with you. Well, Swan Song, go ahead.
First of all, this last second sports guy, man, this guy's just creating headlines. So first of all, okay, he's the same type of dude that will say Marcus Jones is the man and has double shoulder injuries, and then when he gets hurt, he'll say, man, why do the 49ers always draft injured players? Watch. He'll say that too.
Come on.
No, I'm kidding. But what I'm seriously though, we just got a whole offseason where everyone criticizes the Niners. Why do we keep on drafting injured players? Don't get me wrong, Marcus Jones looks legit. But dude, that to double shoulder injury, that doesn't concern people? Like, does that have to do with technique, Crocker, when you tackle people and your shoulders getting hurt?
I don't know. I just think he just got some bad shoulders. It's something that would scare me.
But no,
listen,
don't get me wrong. If we get him at 93, I'd be fine with it. I've been mocking that guy at 93. I'm just messing. But and then another person. Okay, but the reason why I really want to get at you right here is, man, this guy Jesse. I don't know if he's working for John Lynch or something, but you have pick 30, and you're gonna go with the Niners getting another edge rusher when we have like 1,000 of them on the team right now, instead of Christian Watson.
Oh, you're talking about my mock last night?
Yeah, come on, Jesse.
First of all, let me say this. I flipped Debo for Sign and Ebiketie. I thought that was pretty good. I figure, listen, the last thing I want to do is put a receiver in a position like the 49ers did with Kinlaw, where you're constantly comparing them. Let's just beef up that defense. You're not going to replace Debo with another Debo, and I don't want a receiver to compare to him forever if it doesn't pan out. But if I can beef up that defense and just have the best defense in the league by a wide margin, then we'll worry about the offense a little bit later. But I also took Thornton, and I took who's the kid out of Memphis?
Calvin Austin.
So yeah. I took 2 receivers, and I'm hoping that one of them pans out. That was kind of the way that I went with that.
Okay, I get what you're saying there, but first, I don't think he would get that much heat because he's the second pick and not the first pick in your draft, right? Because the first pick you go with, I can't remember who you went with at 19. Like Ebiketie wasn't your first pick, right?
No, I traded back. I got Sign, and I got Ebiketie.
Oh yeah, you got Lewis Sign. I like that one. But yeah, so I don't think it wouldn't be that. I mean, people could say that. Who cares? You draft the guy that we want. Let's not care about like, hey, if he messes up, where people are going to make a connection to this and that. No, like what's that?
People will make a connection because it was really polarizing the way that that Buckner's situation went down, and so that put a lot of, fair or unfair, is just how it is on Kinlaw. And if I kind of agree with Jesse, kind of drawing that line of comparison, even though it's 2 different position groups. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, hey, Kinlaw was Buckner's replacement, replacing a All-Pro with a rookie, right? A Pro Bowler with a rookie. It'd be the exact same thing, Deebo Samuel's, Pro Bowl season with the rookie. But my 2 questions though would be, if we did go high and we drafted a defensive end, does that make the safety position less of a concern? And then also 2 for you, Croc, I think that you probably had Jones at no, pick round 2 or at least at like 61. Was it the white shoes that made you decide that maybe you dropped down to pick 93?
Go ahead, Croc.
Can't hear you, Croc. You're muted.
I think it's just learning more, right? Like when you start to hear about the double shoulder surgery, like that kind of worries me a little bit. No testing at all worries me just a little bit, even though his film is good. The age worries me just a little bit. So, from that standpoint, I would probably take him early day 3 and wouldn't mind. But when you start to factor in the injuries and the lack of height and the age and all these things kind of stacking up against him, it would be hard for me to take him in the first 3 rounds. Not saying I wouldn't. I mean, like, if the 49ers take him at pick 105, like, cool. And plug him in at nickel. He showed on film he could play nickel and stuff like that. Cool. But I personally would feel more comfortable taking him 4th round and taking someone else I'm a little bit more, quote unquote, certain about who he is and what he is when I get him.
I wanted to add a counterpoint. Back to the Christian Watson thing. He would be the 2nd pick on Jesse's draft, not the 1st. So I get the Kinlaw and what's it called, because that was pick 9. That's like crazy, right? We're pick 30. Yeah, it's like almost 2nd round there. And then on the flip side of it, if we do pick 92, you're going to get criticism the other way, because you're going to have fans that say, dude, we lost Debo and now you guys are picking wide receiver in the 4th round. Like, both ways of it, right? Like, no matter what, you're going to get criticism.
Well, I don't think 49ers going to lose Debo. I thought so yesterday, but I don't think so.
I hope not, man.
I don't think so either. I'm just curious, Jesse. I'm really kind of big on Tavarius Moore, maybe a little bit more than I should be. I know that he kind of came off of that surgery, but so far some of the negatives that I heard about him have been, poor angles that he takes, which I think is something that's coachable. And I just think some of it, to me, just like how it is with the young wide receivers that we had, Diamador Lenore, Ambry Thomas. To me, I think it's kind of the same thing as he needs reps. And I liked what I saw in the Super Bowl, but I know he's been kind of flaky here and there. But am I crazy thinking that, maybe we're a little bit, maybe the safety position is a little overblown as well, because I kind of felt like the cornerback position for the 49ers was a little overblown as well. Your thoughts, Jesse?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me with Moore because the last time we saw him, we saw exactly what you talked about, right? A lot of poor angles. He has all the athletic ability, but he didn't have that football smarts, right? Like he just didn't have that. It didn't show that anyways, not a lot. And then he gets injured and hasn't played for a year. And I think it was am I tripping? It was an Achilles, right? Like that to me is more worrisome than an ACL personally. If I've got an explosive athlete and that Achilles goes, I don't know. I mean, who knows how he comes back? I hope it works out. I certainly want him on the roster competing, but I don't know if I can trust that to be my starter. And I know I'm not comfortable with Hufanga. So if Moore's not it, and I think Hufanga's not it, then where do you go, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Croc,
are
you yawning? You can't
I
be
got a
yawning.
question. I got a question for you
got my
three.
workout in this morning.
I got a question for you three guys. At pick 93, what do you guys think is more important, center or slot corner?
I think we can get center a pick later. Like I think West and Fortner both might be there, and I think that those would be two good choices personally. A pick later.
Yeah, I think there's a tremendous drop off in talent between the slot corner and the center for sure. I felt like the 49ers should have drafted a center last draft. That didn't happen, and I've just never. When you really think about the last 4 years, it's like one position that's very, very crucial to this offensive system that Kyle Shanahan plays. And they've just never really solidified and made sure that there's a long-term solution at such a important position. It boggles my mind, honestly.
Here's a question. We have a question in the chat. Do we take a wide receiver if Debo isn't traded? I personally would, and my reasoning for that is, I like Juwan Jennings, but I view him as like a legit wide receiver 4. And if somebody goes down and he got to be wide receiver 3 or whatever, cool. But I would like to get somebody who brings something a little different than Debo and Ayuk, which is like a pure speed guy that maybe has some height. That's why I like Christian Watson so much. Where I think there are areas of Christian Watson's game he can improve on. I think consistently playing faster, the short area, like separation. I think, the Senior Bowl, he showed he had it. But when you watch his college film, it wasn't like consistent. If he can continue to prove on that, great. But he brings like that size, that ability that, he can still improve a little bit better as like a contested catch guy. But if we can find somebody that has like some height and speed and can do those things and just be a complement to what we have from Debo and Ayuk, I would love to have that type of guy. I think Juwan Jennings is like he's cool, but I would like a little bit more dynamicness.
Yeah, same that Croc mentioned. The other thing I would add on to that is this offseason we already came in kind of short as far as the depth chart goes for wide receivers. And then also too, when you're looking at it, we're not too far away from when we're talking about Brandon Ayuk's extension. Now, I find it really hard for the 49ers to pay top dollar for Deebo Samuel. So if we're saying in the chance that Deebo Samuel isn't traded, well, we're going to be paying him top dollar for him, right? Then we're talking about Bosa's extension. Now, again, if we're going off of both of their extensions for this year's current salary cap, we're talking about 2 players taking up more than 26% of the salary cap. So 2 players with a quarter of the salary cap, and we still have 49 other players that are on the roster. So my biggest gut feeling is saying, like, I think that the big deliberation in the 49ers front office is, hey, if we extend Debo, we're not going to be able to extend Brandon Ayuk. And if we extend Brandon Ayuk, we're not going to have any. I think that's the thing. They have to pick right now. We either give money to one person or the other. So you would have to basically be drafting to have your next Robin basically in the building, because you already picked out who your Batman's going to be.
Hey, Croc, two players. I was actually calling to ask you about a couple players. So one of them is Danny Gray out of SMU, wide receiver. And then I forget his first name, but Mathis, the cornerback out of Pitt. Have you watched either of those guys, and what are your thoughts?
Danny Gray, I haven't. I mean, I saw him at the Senior Bowl, but I feel like he left a little early. And then he left like early. And I've seen him on film a little bit when watching other guys. Like I watched Danny Gray against Marcus Jones, but I wasn't like taking notes on him. So I'll watch him over this weekend for sure, and I'll be able to get back to you on him. And Mathis. I've watched Mathis, but I don't have anything on him. So let me get back to him as well. I see my guy Jamal Armstrong. He has too. Draft Damari Mathis. He can play slot and outside, real versatile CB. Good option if you are worried about Jones' shoulders. Mathis is slept on. His mom actually tagged me and told me to stop sleeping on her son. So I did go and watch him. Again, I watched him at the Senior Bowl, and I liked what I saw. Especially being able to see Damari Mathis, live. I thought the competitiveness was there, especially like in one-on-ones. He did a really good job of trusting his hips, his feet, getting in phase, breaking up passes, like just the way he would like carried himself. I liked all that. I watched him on film a couple times, and it was like, okay, he's cool, but I need to watch more to like legitimately take notes on him.
Hey, I'm gonna hop off here.
He tested crazy though. But all right, Gammon, appreciate you coming on.
Bye, Gammon. Have a good one.
I want to contain. This is too much work. So
all right, and Jesse, appreciate you coming on. Swang Song too. I'm gonna get the next 2 callers on.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Here we go. Coming up now, I got my guy Josiah and Papa Dragon. Good morning, y'all.
Hey, what's up? Croc, what's going on with you, man?
Oh man, I'm chilling. How y'all doing this morning?
Oh, good, man. Real good. I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. Just on the road. Hey, man, I mess with your show, bro. I mess with your takes. Appreciate all the good content you're giving to us, man. Hey, bro, I just want to come on here, man, and talk to you about my boy Christian Watson, dude. Hey, regardless of if we get rid of Debo or not, I think that's the boy we need to take, because I mean, either way, with Ayuk's extension coming up soon, somebody got to go. And I don't think Ayuk wants to stay with all the drama he had to deal with here. Either way.
I think there's. I mean, again, I don't want to create controversy, but I get what you're saying though. You know, and Gammon said it just now, and there is something I think a lot of people aren't thinking about. You're gonna have to sign or re-sign Ayuk, and if Ayuk has a big year, and again, this reminds me of what the Dallas Cowboys did when they drafted CeeDee Lamb. Is all right, we drafted CeeDee Lamb, but they just had 2 receivers come off 1,000-yard seasons. And it's all right, we got CeeDee Lamb, but then we got Michael Gallup, we got Amari Cooper. I think luckily for them, Michael Gallup got hurt. So when he came back last year, they were able to re-sign him for a lower price, and then they just traded away Amari Cooper. Where if Gallup didn't get hurt, I think they would have had to pay much more for him. So yeah, if Ayuk goes out there and he doesn't have this slow start like he did last year because of the off-field stuff or whatever, and he hits the ground running, and he ends up being a 1,200-yard receiver, 49ers is going to have to – you're going to have to pay him. And if you're not, then yeah. So, yeah, you would be better off putting yourself in the position to where you do draft a guy that can, like, overlap Deebo Samuel's contract if he's extended.
Hey, I don't have any confidence at all that 49ers have that mindset that we have to sign somebody. I really don't. I mean, after the crap that just happened with Deebo and the season he just had, and for them to start the negotiations in the way that they started it, I have zero confidence. Just like I agree with my boy totally. It's like if I was,
I agree with you, Papa.
I would have to pause.
Hey, 49ers are like the fat kid. 49ers are like the fat kid in middle school recess football that thinks they hella good and they got all the talent in the world, but they go and run a route and they getting picked off by the corner because they slow as hell. Like look at why we kept Jimmy at the starter position for so long, bro. Like, look at what we're doing. Everything we're doing, we got Deebo out here tripping, but we should have signed him already. Like, I don't know.
Not only should we have signed him already, but we should have talked to him at the end of the season and be like, look, we're going to extend you, and we want to greatly decrease the wear and tear on your body by not playing you as a wide back. We want to play you as a receiver, let you run through the secondary dudes as opposed to running in the linebackers. Now, that's how I would have approached it. But again, like I said, I might be wrong. But, you know, based on some of the stuff that I'm seeing and some of my own mock drafts and things like that, I think that, you know, Kiper and McShay are probably smoking a little bit too much crack. I didn't like the pick at all. I mean, because people say we have a championship roster, but what we have is a roster where it's very hard to crack the starting lineup. So if you have if you can't crack the starting lineup, then you have to find players that can come in and contribute in other ways. So a couple of people that, like, if an edge rusher falls down that can knock off one of these 1-year deal guys, then you get the edge rusher. You know?
But about the whole edge rusher thing, bro, with the Niners signing Kamiko Turi, I think him with old boy, the D-line coach, his name's skipping my mind right now, but I think him with our D-line coach, I don't think an edge rusher is really the highest thing on our priority right now.
I'm not saying that. What I am saying that if the right guy falls, that you can see that's going to be with you for 3 to 4 years. If that right guy falls, then you take him. But if he can't come in and contribute and beat out the guys that you currently have, then you don't move forward there. I mean, we have question marks at right tackle, right guard, center, and left guard. So those should be considerations. But guess what? Even if we draft one of those positions, will they be strong enough to crack the starting lineup? And my guess is going to be no.
Yeah.
Because of how you know Mike Kyle Shanahan approaches things.
Yeah.
Now, some players I do see, they may not crack the starting lineup, but could get playing time. Like I had at number 93, I had Khalil Shakir, and then later on in the draft, I came back and picked up Taekwon because I'm sorry, you can't teach 4.25 speed, and on his tape he does run that fast.
Yeah.
So I think that he will probably go around earlier than he's supposed to. But yeah, if somebody like Nick Benito, edge rusher out of Oklahoma, if he falls, you got to consider that. I think if Abraham Lucas is a tackle, if he falls, You had to consider him at pick 61. I think if Kingsley, I'm gonna try to butcher his name here. Igna Bare from South Carolina. I think if he falls, then you might have to consider him at 61. But ultimately, you're looking at players that can come in and try to contribute right away. And otherwise, now one player I am curious about, and I love his tape, but I want to know you guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about? I think this draft's version. It's kind of hard to find a comparison on him, but I really like Derek Deese Jr. a lot.
I don't even know what that is, bro. Give me the rundown on him.
Derek Deese Jr. He from San Jose State. Obviously, his dad, Derek Deese, played for the 49ers. Derek Deese Jr., watching him, he has really good ball skills. I think he's a very fluid tight end, terrific hands catcher. I think he's a playmaker at that. I will watch him a lot because there's a couple of kids on San Jose State that I trained, so I watched San Jose State, and I felt like every time I was watching him, like he made plays. Whether it's in the end zone, across the field, like one-hand catch, like
great body control.
Yeah, great body control.
If he's a guy like that, he might be one of those dudes where, like Croc was saying a couple weeks ago, like if we got him at an acceptable point and we filled all the things we need, then we can take him. But we really don't need a tight end, dude. I feel like us re-signing Dwelly. I think us re-signing Dwelly shows that I think Dwelly and Trey Lance gonna have something cooking. But hey, Croc, I want to ask you a question real quick, bro.
Yeah.
So this draft, I mean, we noticed the COVID draft, and it's not the deepest. Other than I feel like wide receivers and corners in my position, in my opinion, us being willing to get rid of Debo, what does that say? And especially with how trash our line is, and knowing what Jimmy did with Debo and what he did with everybody else. What do you think that is saying about our confidence in Trey Lance?
I don't know. I don't know if it means. I don't think they're willing to get rid of Debo. I don't think the 49ers.
Oh no! What they did is that they butchered the dinner negotiations. They butchered it, and basically what they said was, well, hey, and I'm paraphrasing based on the information coming out, but it sounds to me that they tried to devalue him because of his running back status. And he's seeing, and in Debo, in his mind, he's saying, hey, look, I saved your season last year. I saved your jobs last year. Okay. And I told you up front, don't try to switch me to running back.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's
I'm a wide back, not a running back.
Right. So in any particular case, he sees these wide receivers, they're getting paid way more than running backs are. Yeah. Right. So don't try to decrease my value after I saved your jobs last year. Because if I didn't play that running back position because of the injuries we had, guess what? Neither one of you guys might not be here right now, or those seats would be very hot. So now you're going to come to me and expect me to take a pay cut, start me. So you got to be careful. What the problem is right now at Debo, people say it's home. They say this, they say that. It's respect. With some people, some strong-willed brothers like him, these gangsters, it's all about respect. They'll sit there and say, oh, it's not about the money. It's about respect. And that's the situation there. I feel that he felt he was probably disrespected, disregarded. And he's
because of that, regardless of if we sign him, if we trade him, if he's back on the team next year, whatever, I don't think Debo's going to play the same. I know somebody was saying that on your stream yesterday. I 100% agree, because once players get in their kikis, they feelings like this, I feel like they just don't come back the same. I mean, look at what happened to Le'Veon Bell. He had a falling off after he had that whole situation with the Steelers. So
that's true. No, that's true. I think that he comes back, he plays receiver, and he makes business decisions.
Yeah, we'll see. He's gonna have to. It can kind of mess up the camaraderie a little bit, especially for someone who's kind of one of the leaders of this team, especially at this offense.
That's why I don't get their negotiation tactics. Yeah. They should have been like, look, we want you to retire a Niner, and the only way to do that is for you to play receiver like 99% of the time. We might line you up in the backfield, but we're gonna wheel route you out. We're gonna get you outside of the box. We're gonna create matchups. That's what they should have did, flat out, because, again, he means more to the team besides his plays, because he brings a mentality. You know what I mean? And that is something that's contagious. And I disagree about that. We don't need a tight end because, again, George Kittle can hurt himself peeing. Because this dude, because of his style of play, he takes unnecessary abuse and hits, trying to get extra.
Maybe his style
yards.
of play 2 years ago, but Kittle was soft last year. If we being real, Kittle didn't produce the same. He wasn't trucking people like he did against the Saints in that Jimmy G game. You know, he wasn't putting up numbers like that.
He was 15 pounds lighter last year too. He came in around 230.
Hey, he probably gonna be 15 more pounds lighter this year. I'm just saying, you can't have faith that George Kittle is gonna do what he did. But hey, we got
decrease those injuries. So
yeah, that's why he's losing weight. But hey, we got 2 4th-round picks this year, right?
Let me check. No, we have one.
We have one. Well, at that 4th-round spot, if he's still available, my other draft crush this year is the running back from North Carolina, especially with Debo possibly leaving, not doing the same. I think that running back from North Carolina, he's not the quickest, but I think he, in the 49ers system, I think he might excel. So
I got to watch him. He's come up a few times now. I got to watch him. I just watched Pierre Strong, but I haven't watched that North Carolina running back.
If Debo comes back, I would definitely like to get Tyquan. I would like to bring in a running back. The running back in Alabama sounds good to me. I would also like to pick up a tight end. Now, if we lose Debo, I think we got to get a running back. I think we got to get 2 wide receivers, and we have to get a tight end in that case. Because again, I'm trying to account for his production or the change of it, because it's not totally about the upcoming year. It's about what happens with Debo and how that just creates a chain effect of decisions that have to be made, such as players like Ayuk. Jennings is on a 1-year deal right now, so it's not going to be easy decisions moving forward. But the only way that you can pay Debo is that you got to give him like a long contract. But he's not going to playing the way he is right now.
I'll say this about the Debo, situation. Like, if he gets paid, all will be good. All the players understand the business side of these things.
I agree.
And George Kittle, they talked about
Debo for 4 years though.
Yeah, but they talk about George Kittle and his situation and how he was low balled and it was pretty much disrespectful. But that's what I'm gonna say about that real quick. And I'm gonna get y'all off, man. I appreciate both of y'all coming on the show.
Hey,
man.
Appreciate you too, Croc. Have a good one, man.
All right, y'all have a good one,
man. Make sure y'all hit that like button.
Yeah, hit that like button, that subscribe button. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, here we go. Swanson, did you read the tweet correctly the other day? Did you look at Pac-12 offensive line? If so, what are your thoughts on Sean Ryan? I haven't seen him yet. The offensive tackle I watched from Pac-12 was the right tackle out of Washington State, Abraham Lucas, and he was good. I thought he was good. Very deep. I think this class, I don't know if there's like that super heavy hitters in the top 5, where it's like, man, these guys would go top 5 in any class. Like, these guys can go top 5. I don't know if there's that, but if we're talking about from like pick 15 to like pick 75, 80, 90, I think it's a very deep class. And even into like day 3, I feel like there's going to be guys there that are like, hey, this is a really good football player. More so than some of the previous classes I've seen. Kittle also caught 2 hospital passes from Jimmy. I think Kittle's always catching hospital passes from Jimmy. Did T.O. get to a Super Bowl or get a Super Bowl? He didn't get one, but he did get to one. Even though he didn't play, he had that broken leg, but he came back. And if Eagles were going to win that Super Bowl, it was going to be because of Terrell Owens playing on one leg. Playing on one leg, had 125 striking off. Kittle was soft, huh? Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, right? Kittle not soft. Matter of fact, I mean, it's good to see, like, that was last year was kind of like a down year for Kittle, and he still was just shy of 1,000 yards receiving. Very protected player. There's been no offer made because the Niners can't with Jimmy on the books. Bet you Jimmy gets traded by day 2 of the NFL draft. I don't know if it's as simple as like they can't make an offer. I think they can. Now maybe things can't become official until then, but they can make an offer. They can make an offer. One corner I didn't mention today, cornerback out of Alabama, Jalen Lamar Davis, really like him. Maybe I'll do some film breakdown, like just highlight some clips if I can get my dang software up and running. But Jalen Lamar Davis out of Alabama, like him. There's a lot to like with him. So very technical, obviously tested very well. Alabama guys, I feel like they come into the league ready to go. Even guys that aren't the most athletic, like Levi Wallace coming out of Alabama, or even of Averett, who were kind of like day 3 guys, but still, it's like, hey, they're good NFL guys. And I think Jalen Lamar Davis, he's a guy that might go higher than people think. Like, wait, who is this? But he's legit. He's legit. My guy Chris, wow, Croc, you don't make people don't on their words. Can't just let folks talk kill soften. I typically like what people want to get off on that. But you brought it up. Yeah, like I don't think Kittle has ever been soft. Pause. Croc, you going live for the draft? I'm not, because the Locked On Network, they're gonna have me out in Dallas for the draft. I actually leave Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, and I'll be out there through Saturday through the draft. So I think I actually come back home on Sunday. So unfortunately, I won't be live. I mean, I will be live. Yeah, I guess I'll be live. I just won't be live talking like 49ers. I'll be live talking NFL draft at the Tegna Studios. If 49ers get for Debo what they got for Buckner, 1 first round, middle of round pick, I will cry. I'd say 13 is top half. So that's not middle. Like I think middle is like 16, 17, 18. Like that's middle of first. Like 13, it's pretty high. I'm not gonna lie. And typically teams don't, like when you trade for a player, it's very rare you see them like, we know what this pick is, and we're going to trade that pick for his player. You don't see that a whole lot. So to see Buckner like get traded and you knew it was going to be 13th overall pick, from a value standpoint, it was good. Now, from what they did with it, maybe not as ideal. Maybe not. But I appreciate everyone in the chat. Make sure if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Y'all know what it is. San Francisco 49ers Morning Show. We're here 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Time. Make sure y'all tune in. Locked On 49ers, Locked On NFL Draft, and the Not Ideal Podcast. I'm still working on getting episode 2 loaded onto YouTube, but it is on all your streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. Man, but hit the like button, subscribe. Run those numbers up. Appreciate y'all. We out. Peace.
Intercepted. It is picked off by Aaron Crocker. Over midfield. He'll run it all the way into the end zone. Touchdown.
Crop Talk TV podcast. Peace.